Hello students, so coming back to chapter number 13, there is organism and population. In this class, we will discuss about population interaction, that is the interaction between two organisms or two species, okay? And some population interaction are mutualism, predation, parasitism, commensalism, amensalism, and competition. First come to mutualism. Actually, it is the interaction between two organisms in which both organisms will be benefited. And mutualism is also known as symbiosis. Predation. In predation of the two interacting organisms, one will be benefited and other will be harmed. Here, the benefited organism is called predator and organism which is harmed is known as prey. Parasitism. In this interaction, one species will be benefited while the other will be harmed. Here also, the benefited organism is known as parasite and the organism which is harmed is known as host. Next, come to another term, that is commensalism. Here in this interaction between two organisms, one organism will be benefited while the other organism will be neither harmed nor benefited. Amensalism, just opposite to commensalism, in this interaction, one organism will be neither harmed nor benefited while the other organism will be harmed. And coming to competition, from this table we cannot define competition, okay? So we define competition like this. It is an interaction between two organisms in which the fitness of one organism will be lower in the presence of another organism or another species. Okay, so we will discuss this one by one in details. So first come to predation. We know that it is an interaction between two species or two organisms in which one is benefited while the other is harmed. And here we know that benefited organism is called predator and the organism which is harmed is known as prey. And usually in this relationship, this predator will kill the prey. Okay. And some of the simplest example of predation is tiger and deer, and even these herbivores which eat grasses can also be considered as predator. Okay. Now, sigi class da apna naina dese maruina kaina kanta. It is the importance of predator. Predator kana bato discuss uteba. So let us discuss the importance of predator one by one. Come to first point. Here, predator, they act as conduit for energy transfer from one trophy level to another trophy level. Haibadi, predator sina channel amoy ek tawdeneba. Kadonaba energy transfer tawado from one trophy level to another trophy level. So to understand this, let us take one simple example of food chain. That is plant, deer, tiger. So deer say they are also a kind of predator as compared to plant. Deer select if there's no deer, then energy from plant cannot be transferred to tiger. Deer snack it act as a channel to transfer energy from where plant to tiger. Okay, so this is important number one. Now come to next point. Point number two. Predator, they also help in checking population, okay? Mainly prey population. For example, tiger will regulate the population of the deer. Aduna prey ki population se kanana regulate togani hakanda predator na. Aduna prey ki population kam yami yam level se it depends on what? The predator pressure. This is point number two, okay? Next come to third point. So predator, they also help in maintaining species diversity in a community. So to understand this, again, let us take one simple example. So think that in a particular area, there are 5 competing species. And definitely because of competition, the weaker one will be eliminated. And thus diversity will definitely decrease. Okay. But if predator for this competing species is present, then definitely the intensity of competition among competing species will definitely decrease. And thus species diversity can be maintained. Auna jaga amada karigumba competing species khara leyan warseba. Moi masen sum compete tawli taragdi masana weaker one do eliminate tawraga diversity do pasana decrease rakane. Adubu in presence of that predator moi kai han tawni moi masen compete tawbagi intensity do decrease tawraga moi masen hana defense tawna hona rakane kanadagi from the predator. Aduna kadaba diversity do kanba ngamasu ya hne. That is predator help in maintaining species diversity. Now come to last point, point number 4. In nature, predators are prudent. Haibadi predators they never overexploit their food, okay? Or they show care for their future. Ako human being oitaragadi ako kadrakanda ako gi food ki resource ako di overexploit ado moi di kadrakanda overexploit tawde aduna moi se nature kadona prudent oi have. So these are the importance of predator. Now come to next point. Prey singse kaduga kanda they possess many character to defense or to minimize the impact of predator. For example, camouflage. So kaduga kanda di some animal they can sense their color, okay, and even they can show modification in their body structure. Kaduna ba to avoid being detected by the predator. And another one is what? Mimicry. Mat uttam bhaiba. So piriba example there is viceroy butterfly say it mimics this monarch butterfly. The monarch butterfly it is very distasteful. Sabar how table. Auna monarch butterfly say always my predators must avoid the web. Already tadi viceroy butterfly say monarch butterfly mat uttam abrina mat baga manhalabna structure ta viceroy butterfly so my predator na avoid the web. Okay. Next come to photophagous. Photophagous these are the insect which feed on plant cell. Okay, so they are also a kind of predator. Now come to last point. Come to plant. Plant plant they produce a lot of toxic chemical substances and even poison also. Aitadi ngasagi toxic chemical substance poison sina kari kana hingga kanda ngasai browsing animals sina definitely they will avoid such type of plants. Okay. Not only that, some plants also have a lot of modification in their body structure, like the presence of thorn, pickles. Okay, these all help to protect the plants, okay, from browsing animals. So these are different mechanisms, okay, which have evolved in prey to minimize the impact of predator. Next come to commensalism. So in this population interaction, one organism will be benefited while the other organism is neither harmed nor benefited. And here for commensalism, you have to study only the example given here. Okay. Come to first example, that is orchid and tree. So orchid is benefited while the tree is neither harmed nor benefited. So how is the orchid benefited? Orchid it grows on the surface of the tree and they usually obtain is moisture. Adubu nutrient di cry obtain this nutrient are obtained from air, rain or water. Okay. Aduna sakadabra orchid will be benefited, okay, because they got support from the tree. Okay, on other side the tree is neither harmed nor benefited. Next come to relationship between barnacles and whale. Here barnacle is benefited because it grows on the back of the whale and it takes support from the whale. On other side this whale it neither get any benefit nor it is harmed. So this is another example of commensalism. Next example, it is between egret and grazing cattle. On a necrophila unikanda, this egret you will find they move close to where the cattle are grazing. On a second when the cattle graze, definitely they will flush out all the insects which are present under the ground, okay? And this insect will be eaten by this egret. Kana egret is benefited. On other side, the cattle is neither harmed nor benefited. Again, this is another example of commensalism. Next, come to the relationship between sea anemone and clownfish. You will find this clownfish among the tentacle of the sea anemone. The clownfish will be benefited by protecting themselves from its predator, okay, by the stinging tentacles. Sea anemone does not get any benefit nor it is harm. Okay, so this is something about commensalism, and for commensalism you have to study the example which are given in your textbook. Okay. Next come to competition. Competition actually it is a process in which the fitness of one species will be lower in the presence of another species. Haibadi hana dominant oidana lermiba kangudo atopagi presence amada handaba taragadi adu kari koina competition ko. For example, in Galapagos Island, this albino tortoise become extinct after the introduction of God in that island. Okay, karigino hakanda because they compete for the same food, and here the browsing activity of the God will be faster than the albino tortoise. Because of this, the tortoise become extinct in this island. So this is a kind of competition. Okay. Next, let us discuss some term related to competition. So first one is competitive release. So what happened here? So in some case, the distribution of some species may be restricted to a small geographical area. Because of the presence of competitively superior species around them. Okay. weaker ones amuk kadobe kanda they can expand their population, okay, they can expand their distribution. Karam condition da when the competing species is removed habadi ngasai gi koina weaker ba population am haise ko man lai ba magi population gi expansion to ngam da ba ya habne kari lebana monagi competitively superior species leba maramna ado hariba competitively superior species lo thokpa taraga di ngasai weaker ba species to magi population expand to ngam gani haba. This is called what? Competitive release. Next come to competitive exclusion principle, and this principle was proposed by Gauss, and this principle states that two closely related organisms, two closely related competing species for the same resource cannot coexist together. Definitely the weaker one will be eliminated. On a particular reason amada competing species ani haitare ko puna leminaba yaroi haba leminaba taragadi weaker one do eliminate togini, okay. This is according to what? Competitive exclusion principle, and this principle was proposed by Gauss, okay. Next come to last point, that is resource partitioning. Here two or more competing species for the same resource in a particular area, they could avoid competition, but the question is how? Why avoid them? So they can choose different timing for feeding and even different foraging pattern. Only then they can avoid competition among themselves. On a particular geographical area, same food compete with organism species moi marta compete with hanba yagani hamne point moi feeding timing man handraba moina food to search to adugi different pattern follow tawraba haitadi compete with sang handarane. So these are some of the terms related to competition. Next come to parasitism. Here also it is the interaction between two organisms or two species, but here one organism will be benefited and the benefited organism is called parasite, and other organism will be harmed, and the organism which is harmed is known as host. So to understand this, we can take the simplest example, that is the relationship between we human being and lice. Lice, they suck blood from human being, so this lice represent parasite, on other side the human being represent host, okay. Next, let us discuss one interesting point. Here, hosts, they can evolve many mechanisms to protect themselves from where? From the parasite. But on the other side, this parasite will also evolve new mechanism to counteract such modification which takes place in the host. That is, both host and parasite, they will co-evolve. Haibati, I host is the parasitic ngakthoksanaba monda different mechanism ama thorso the evolve tawjapado adu potom counteract tobu yanaba kanada su parasite sum tholokane aitadi parasite still kadore hosam depend tobu yaneba. That means moise punna punna co evolve tomina gani haba, okay. Next, let us discuss something about the adaptive features of parasite. Parasite ta yauba among specific character na siko. First point, they do not have any unnecessary sense organ, okay. Second point, they definitely will have possess some adhesive organ or sucker. However, organ or sucker see through the nutrient will be sucked from the host. This is important feature. And second one is they do not have any digestive system. Nutrient to direct absorb to digestive aduna they do not have any digestive system. Plus they have what? High reproductive capacity. Okay, I will repeat it. So parasite, they do not have any unnecessary sense organ. Definitely they will possess some adhesive organ or sucker. They do not have any digestive system, plus the reproductive capacity will be very high. So this is about some adaptive features of parasite. Next, come to another interesting point related to parasitism. Parasite khardi kadogi hai kanda mogi life cycle se complete oina khona bada host ani jakata de. There is some parasite require two hosts to complete their life cycle. For example, the human liver flick. It requires two hosts to complete their life cycle, and the two hosts are snail and fish. Another example is what? Malarial parasite, which causes the disease of malaria. Okay, here the parasite require two hosts to complete their life cycle. One is mosquito and one is human being. Okay, and another point related to parasite is the parasite can be divided into two types: ectoparasite and endoparasite. If I say ectoparasite, these are the parasite which are found outside the body. On other side, endoparasite, these are the parasite which are found inside the body. Okay, so these are some points related to parasite. Next, come to one interesting point related to parasitism, and that is brood parasitism. So in this type of parasitism, what happens? Cuckoo, a parasitic bird, will lay its egg in the nest of the crow. And here the crow will function as host. And the host, that is crow, will incubate the egg of the cuckoo. And like this, the cuckoo will be benefited. So question is, why the cuckoo is benefited? Because its egg are incubated by crow, and thus cuckoo will get its offspring without the expenditure of any energy. But on the other side, crow, that is host, is harmed. Why it is harmed? Because it uses all its energy to incubate the egg of the parasitic bird. Like this, the parasitic bird, that is cuckoo, will be benefited. On other side, the host, that is crow, will be harmed. Next come to mutualism. So mutualism is also interaction between two organism or two species, but here both the organism or species will be benefited. And mutualism is also known as symbiosis. And mutualism the interactive organism animal to kadogani kudong sa fangani animal benefited with. And to understand this, let us study some example which are given in our textbook. So first come to lichens. We know that it is a symbiotic association between two components, pycobion and mycobion. Here, pycobion will be represented by algae and mycobion will be represented by fungi. Okay, and let's see the relationship. Here, the fungus will provide water, minerals, and even shelter to the algae. On other side, the algae will provide food to fungi. Like this, both organisms are benefited. Aduna lichen se kadorni organism ani interaction ni algae ga fungi ga sta algae na kadorni food pirani fungi na kadorni water minerals plus shelter pirani. Okay, next come to mycorrhiza. So this mycorrhiza, it is a symbiotic association between fungi and roots of higher plant, and the relationship is like this. Here the root will provide food shelter to the fungi. On other side, the fungi will absorb water and minerals from those area where the root cannot enter and supply to the root. This is the relationship. On the mycorrhiza da kadogi herkanda kanaga fungi ga root ka relationship ni se root na kadorni food ka shelter pirani fungi da. In return da fungi na kadogi herkanda root na sangmangam da kasin kuya do adu sanguraga water and minerals absorb to biraga root da supply to the. So this is something about mycorrhiza. Next come to another example, and here the relationship is between fig species and wasp species. Here what happened? The fig flower is only pollinated by wasp insect, and in return the fig flower will provide an oviposition, that means a particular site to lay their eggs. Because of this, definitely the larvae of the wasp will develop inside the fruit, and this larvae will obtain nourishment from the developing seed. Like this, both organisms are benefited. And see relations to lace kaino kanda nasagi fig flower se kana khatana pollinate torani wasps have insects na. In return kadoge kanda fig flowers na nasagi insects gi marum kono jaga pirani aduna tana nai developing larvae do aduna kadoba nasai developing sitagi nourishment logo su yarneba. Like this, both organisms are benefited. Now come to last example of mutualism, and the relationship is between a type of orchid known as ophrys and a pollinating bee. Okay, here what happened? So one of the petal of orchid flower, it resemble to the female bee, and because of this the male bee will be attracted towards the flower, and during this process the flower will be pollinated. On other side, the male bee perform pseudocopulation. Honestly, relationship se kana kana kanda di orchid ki type known as ophrys siga magi pollinating bee siga. Ophrys have flower se magi mana madi kay magi kanda female bee maleba. Sina maram oidana nasagi male bee se attract torani sigi process kadawani flower kadawani pollinate hore aduga nasagi male bee kadawina pseudo means what? False. Copulation is mating natra, false mating tor sakre mentally kadawma se mating tor hakal sakre. So these are some of the example related with mutualism. And this brings me to the end of this class, and today in this class we have discussed something about population interaction. And what you have to do is first you should know the relationship. After that you have to study the example given in your textbook. Okay, and hope you can understand all the point, and thank you very much for your attention.